Welcome to the Ska History Hour with your hosts, Jose Rojas
Hello.
and myself, Daryl Rubio, wherein the purpose of this channel is to spread awareness of ska music to the world. Today's guests are members of Mobtown, originating from the Downey area of Southern California. Everyone, we appreciate the time you're taking today to speak with us, to share your stories and your music to the ska community. Can you each go around, say your name and what your responsibility is in the band, please?
Jeffrey Govan. My name is Jeffrey Govan. Hello. I play bass and occasional vocals for the group.
I'm Alex Vargas. I play drums, and that's about it. Keeping the time. Trying.
Kat Aguirre, I play keys.
Oh, hey, I'm Wally. I play guitar. That's my responsibility is playing rhythm guitar in the band.
My name is Derek. Play guitar.
Can't see you, Derek.
I'm here.
I see you. I can hear you. You're good.
I'm Brian. I play saxophone.
And we have Chris Seawright, who's not here. He's our bari sax player. Robert Lagunas, our trumpet. Pepe, David Porsche is our steel pans percussionist. And Gary Hendigas is our trombone player. Rest in peace, Gary. So that is the entire band. Malik.
And Malik.
Malik, who was going to try to make it, our vocalist.
Got it. All right, so let me know if I'm incorrect in this, but you guys started around 1990. Is that right, Wally?
Pretty much. We started forming probably in 89-ish, trying to kind of just figure out things. And then I think the ball got rolling in 1990 with our first gig. But yeah, we've been jamming for some time as kids and, doing different little bands, cover bands, punk bands, alternative bands, and then started to kind of dabble in the whole ska thing. And then that, Mobtown was born out of that.
That's awesome. But you guys started playing when you first started like a two-tone type of ska sound over the year. But over the years, you guys have basically incorporated more of a traditional ska sound. Now, Wally, I believe you were the first singer on that demo tape. Is that right?
No,
No?
you're never going to hear vocals out of this guy right
There
here.
was somebody who sang on that old tape.
That was Mario Pittman.
Okay.
Or was our drummer, and Jeff.
Yeah.
Got it.
He was the first drummer.
Yeah, before I played
The original
bass,
drummer.
and I don't think there's any like formal recordings of this, but before I played bass, I
There
was
he
the
is.
vocalist for
There he is.
Hey.
All right.
Pepe.
What's up, Pepe?
Yeah.
We got Pepe in the
Welcome.
house. Right on. All right. Now, piggybacking on that question with you, Wally, I've known you guys for a long time now. I've seen you guys since pretty much the beginning.
Yeah.
First of all, your dad, Wally Caro Sr.,
Yep.
was your first manager.
Pretty much, yeah. He is.
Excellent guy. I had many a conversation with him back in the day about different things. Who handles the responsibilities now for booking, business, all of that, now that you guys have reunited?
Blue.
No, so there's not much of that going on. Blue Cat kind of handles the business side of it. But I might coordinate the rehearsals, but I mean that's all that goes on nowadays. It's just seeing when everybody's available. I don't manage the Instagram side. I post a couple pictures to the best of my ability every now and then. But yeah, nowadays it's just super not informal, but just, hey, you guys want to play this date, and if we're all good, then we try to schedule rehearsal and get together and do our thing. But yeah, Kat usually gets the initial deals at this point and passes them on. So
Okay. Now, as a fellow band geek, was anybody in the high school band?
Yes. I was.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually played baritone horn. I didn't even play the drums in high school.
Oh, really?
I played the horn baritone for 6 years.
Oh, wow.
I played drums after. After high
Okay.
school, I started playing drums. A friend needed a drummer, so I always wanted to play, so I just jumped on him and started learning. So
Cool, cool.
Yeah.
Anyone
Pepe
else?
teaches high school band.
Middle school.
Yeah,
Brian,
Pepe,
you weren't
dude.
in the high school band?
Middle school.
Oh, not high school, huh?
Middle
No,
school?
I teach middle school.
No, Brian, you weren't in the high school band?
I was, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, definitely.
Wasn't all of the horns in high school band
Probably,
in
yeah.
Mobtown?
Oh, for sure. For
I
sure.
think so.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Probably Pepe. You were in high school band, right, Pepe?
March bass drum.
That's
So
right.
the high school band
March.
thing is an interesting question because I think for many bands, ska bands, that's like a vital part of forming a ska
Yeah.
band back in the 90s is you grow up and you've got your garage bands and everybody's either a drummer, guitar player, bass player, and then you start looking into ska and you figure out that all the guys
There's
in
no
the
more
neighborhood
players.
and your friends aren't there's no horn players. So you start your search and it's always after lunch run into the band room and asking everybody in the room if anybody's ever heard ska or interested in playing in a band and you just kind of start from there. So but the band and high school band, college bands, that was where we definitely put our flyers up and we're looking and we were very fortunate and lucky enough to meet Chris through our flyers at Cal State Fullerton and
Yeah.
Brian and Dave through our flyers over at Cal State Long Beach. So crucial, vital part in any ska band. So
That's
Yes.
why a lot of the ska bands back then, they sound like high school horn players. They weren't really good, We got
Yeah,
lucky.
really
They
good
were good.
players.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we all had fun. It doesn't matter, We're still having fun.
All right. Now, each of you, if you go around, each describe your personal musical influences and who are your current favorite ska bands.
Brian, you
Ska
go
only?
first, man.
Me? Okay.
No, or yeah, if you want. I'm thinking about this one.
Oh yeah. I mean, what's cool about the current modern group of ska bands is there's a ton of really great ones. I've had the privilege of like working with a lot of them in the studio, which is super cool. My influences growing up were my mom. My mom grew up in South America, on this little country called Guyana, and the calypso scene there was really big. So she had records from these 78 records from her childhood that she would play us, and she was always into steel drums.
Yeah.
Because that was still is a huge thing in Guyana. All the high schools have steel drum bands. So I was familiar with that sound, and so that was my first hearing of this kind of music. Bands for people to check out, I can just go with you got to check out the Brooklyn Attractors.
Mm.
Really great group. Of course, Steady 45s, all of our local bands here. A band that I really love, it's more on the reggae side, but Kelly DiFilippo is the singer of the Loving Poppers, and she's fantastic. Really cool. And of course, you guys got to check out all the stuff on Escape Hatch Records, Smoke and Mirrors.
Mm-hmm.
You'll hear Jeff on a lot of that stuff. You'll hear basically everybody on a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely check that stuff out. But yeah,
Yeah,
there's
cool.
tons. If you just go on and check out modern ska bands, there's great stuff coming out of New Orleans. There's great stuff coming out of all over the place. So
Mhm.
yeah, LA.
The Loving Poppers.
Yeah.
I know Jose and I saw them a couple of years ago at the Supernova.
Yeah.
But I actually toured with two of those guys that were in a band called the Decepticons.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
George and Mark.
Right.
Yeah, so they were in that same band, and we had a full U.S. tour with those guys. It was crazy. So I know those guys for
Back in the day.
yeah, back in '98. We toured with them.
Wow.
Mhm.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, deep roots. That's what's cool about this whole scene too. Is like there's young people, there's oldies,
Yeah.
and stuff kind of. There's all these cool combinations of things. It's not this like you can only do this one thing. It's like it's all
It
together
evolves.
now. Yeah,
That's what I love.
yeah.
Well, I guess I'll go next. some of my influences, my musical influences, come from my grandparents and my parents. Of course, like a lot of people, my grandparents were big music consumers and music lovers. So there's a variety of things that they liked. My grandfather was an electrical engineer, and so he rigged the whole house. And a lot of people did this back in the 50s, but he had an intercom system where you can play things in different rooms and play in the whole room. They'd have house parties and different things. Motown figures very prominently in my influences, always has. I've always been connected to Motown no matter what other thing I was into. But some of the things I was early that are related to ska that I was early influenced in were like Xavier Cugat, um, um, Harry Belafonte, just for this kind of sounds. Um, Jimmy Cliff. I remember when I was uh, when the Heart of the Come came out. That was one of like my early childhood like celebration for Halloween or something. They would play that. You can get it if you really want. Um, and in high school, I kind of branched out. I started playing guitar around 10, and my first influence was Chuck Berry. Just because my dad played, I didn't know he played. He actually surprised me. I got a guitar. He came and visited me. I'm left-handed, and I was playing it lefty. And I was like, "Look, Dad, I got this guitar." He said, "You're playing it the wrong way. Playing it the wrong way." And I was like, "What does this old man know? This is how you play guitar, you know?" And so he's like, "Give me that." Took the guitar from me, tuned it up a little bit, and then he started playing Hail Hail Rock and Roll, the beginning of it. And I was 10 and had never seen him play that. I've heard him sing. He has a great voice. I've heard him play harmonica and sing songs. He's from Mississippi. So I've heard him play different blues songs and sing different blues songs on harmonica or sing them, but I've never seen him touch a guitar. So at that moment, that was a catalyst to make me learn it standard. And I started trying to learn that Chuck Berry lick. Later on, I got into like Jimi Hendrix was a big one. And then in high school, I was into a bunch of 80s stuff, and a lot of 80s stuff is reggae influenced. So like Culture Club, like who else? Everybody. The list is very long for reggae influence kind of music in the 80s, and I gravitated to all that, and I really kind of liked alternative music as well. I dabbled in punk a little bit, but I like post punk better than punk. Um, and As a playing bass actually affected my style because I always harken back to the Motown soul and what they would call oldies. Growing up in Southgate and Huntington Park, um, around the Latino community, I was around a lot of cholos and stuff like that. Um, and that reinforced and kind of helped me continue listening to that music. Um, that's it. That's not it, but that's what I'm gonna say.
Oh man.
Who's next?
I'll go next.
Oh, okay.
For me, I always grew up around music. We had music playing in the background as a kid all the time, just like oldies, Filipino ballads that my parents loved. It was always just playing as background noise. When I got to probably fifth grade, sixth grade, I started getting into like new wave stuff. I would say even fourth grade, I started getting into new wave. I had cousins that would listen to that stuff. The Smiths, Depeche Mode, The Cure. I loved it. I got into that. I got into punk a little bit. I listened to everything, got into punk, got into ska, heavily into ska in the 90s. Now, I really dig all the local bands right now. Steady 45s, Agalites are great. They're fantastic musicians. It's amazing. Um, different from what we were in the 90s. I always think like, oh my God, they're so good. Like we were just kids picking up instruments and, just trying to play compared to the bands now. But yeah, those are kind of my musical influences.
Okay.
I guess I'll go. I'm an 80s kid for sure, but my mom had 8 siblings, and they ranged different, well, about a couple years apart. So growing up, I went from my mom listened to doo-wop, right? My grandparents listened to like cumbias and salsa, and then one aunt listened to the Beatles. She was all into the British movement. Another aunt was into like Tina Marie and Sly and the Family Stone. And then I had a stoner aunt. She was on the Black Sabbath, Led Zeppelin, right? And then my uncle, he liked War and that type of music. So I liked a lot of horn band, Earth, Wind and Fire, and that's what's the other one? All those horn bands in the '70s were awesome to me. And so yeah, and I always wanted to play the drums. I was influenced by Van Halen when I was a kid. I was like a heavy metal cholo. I loved heavy metal, but I was trying to act like a cholo. I grew up in Pico Rivera, and then 7th grade, my mom moved. We went from Pico Rivera to Downey, and that's like a culture shock. I went from everybody looked like me to now I'm the only brown dude there, getting called wetback. You know what I'm saying? But I dealt with it. It's not a big deal. It didn't even hurt my feelings. It was just like it was new though. And my brother he was all into heavy metal too, like Iron Maiden and like that type of shit. So then I started finding my own niche, and I started getting into breakdancing. Like fucking Run DMC came out and Fat Boys, and I started getting all of that. So I started breakdancing, but I still had all the other influence. And then I met this girl, and we traded tapes. I gave her a Run DMC tape. She gave me a Depeche Mode tape. And what the fuck is this shit? That shit was crazy. I was like, this is dope shit, man. And so I started listening to alternative music, and then started changing. And all my family members thought I was gay and shit. They were all cholito. What the fuck? You're a hoto, man. What the fuck? I'm wearing like Izod shirts and powder blue Nikes, and you know what I mean? They're run Pendletons. And but anyways, with that, I started finding my own shit. And Oingo Boingo was one of my favorite bands. And I didn't know they were considered like ska. You know what I mean? I didn't know ska was. I heard the specials, but I didn't know there was a genre called ska. So, and then I started getting all that, but definitely synthesized. I liked a lot of synthesized music back then too, all that keyboard shit. But the Smiths were, heavy on mine for lyric wise. So I was into everything, and I had a whole genre of shit that I loved. So I always wanted to play the drums, but they didn't have enough drums. So they said, well, you can play horn. So I stuck with that. And then my senior year, I did plead with my band director and told him I was going to quit the band if he didn't let me try out at least. And I ended up being drum captain. Isn't that crazy?
That's nice, man.
Yeah. So, but I didn't play drum set. I just played snare drum, right? So it's totally different. When I got into drums, that's totally different. So, but drumming, Van Halen was my influence in the beginning for sure. Even though I couldn't even play like that guy now, but they definitely. And I don't know. But when I got into ska thing, I met this girl named Chrissy, and she's the one who introduced me to the band. And she's the one that told me it was about ska. And I'm like, ska? What the fuck's that? And she started giving me the toasters and all that. I'm like, oh, this is cool. And then who else? Fishbone. Fishbone was a fucking amazing. I was like, what the fuck's this shit, man? And these guys are brothers? What the fuck? It was just amazing to me. And then I went to my first show. Mobtown was my first ska show. I seen him. I was hooked. I shaved my head like 2 days later, and I was all into Morrissey. They had the Morrissey doing shit. Next thing you know, I went to
For that.
I had my head shaved. And then Blue took me under her wing and taught me to
I
rope.
remember that.
And but I fell in love with music, and then I realized it's fucking ska is like old oldies, but just the Jamaican versions, And I loved the oldies, but I was just sick of them. But there's a new style of oldies, and that's what I still dig today. I still love that shit. And unfortunately, I've been like a hermit in my house over here in the IE, and I don't really get to go out much. So I'm not really tuned in with the local bands today. I wish I was, but the ones I have played with or seen, they've been really cool. Which is State 45s and fuck, I can't think of the names right now.
Agolites.
Oh, the Agalites for sure. But there's the one Wally's
Western Standard
label.
Time, right?
There was another band that they were backing or with what's her name? What's that girl's name?
Jackie.
Jackie, but there's another band she was playing with too. The guy
Elysians.
that, yeah, there you go. The Delirians, right?
Oh yeah, or the Delirians, yeah.
Delirians, there you go. Yeah, they were cool. I like them too. But anyways, that's how I got my influences, but you know,
Whoa.
that's all. Long ass story.
About
It's a
there?
good story, man. Good story.
Being a guitar guy, so all the famous guitar heroes were my guitar heroes.
Like Ted Nugent.
Ted Nugent is, yeah, he
Wango Tango?
Wango Tango, dude,
Yeah, man.
Stranglehold, all that stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like Angus, Stevie Ray Vaughan. I mean, this all the Chuck Berry, like Jeff said. I'll piggyback on that. I mean, there's just so much.
Tiny
Albert
Tim.
King, BB King, even other Brian Setzer.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's kind of like, I guess you can say Roddy Radiation had that, right? That whole rocker kind of a vibe deal. And that's what really drew me to the Specials was that kind of a vibe, like a guitar guy. You know what I mean?
A lead. Yeah.
So as far as that genre, I would say that the Specials would be my biggest influence.
Yeah, we'll touch
You know,
on when you guys played with the Specials too.
oh yeah. The my I know everyone else has kind of said it so far, but the Smiths was probably like my favorite thing when I was younger, and Johnny Marr's another
Oh, hell yeah.
phenomenal guitarist,
Amazing
There's
guitar.
no question about Johnny.
And as far as the new bands, well, newer, right, who's out right now, 45s are fantastic live. They put on a heck of a show. And then what's that other what well, it can go. If it pops into my head, I'll shout their name out.
I think for sorry, trying to get my dog to shut up over here.
We can't hear it.
Oh, you can't? Ah, perfect.
No.
Perfect. All right, good. Growing up, just like everybody else, a lot of just a wide range of influences, oldies, R&B, was definitely heard. I got into the whole, punk thing for a little bit, The Cure, huge influence as far as, the Specials, huge influence as far as turning me onto ska. But I was really trying to think of like what my influences were as far as playing and as a musician. But quite honestly, it's everybody on this call, really. And a lot of the guys that I played with in bands, it's like what influenced me in my playing and where I wanted to go with the music was really growing up with everybody together and kind of learning and experiencing things for the first time, and then, kind of looking at them saying, well, geez, how did they do that? Or I didn't know you could do that. Or I've been trying to figure that out, and then seeing friends. And I mean, even like The Cure, I love The Cure. I remember Jeff coming over and just, with the guitar, when we were 13, 14, and he was playing The Cure licks. And I was like, holy shit, like that's how you do it, so it got my mind thinking outside of my small box, and seeing the horns and what they were doing and how they were thinking about music and phrasing music was changing my thought process on what I could actually do as a musician or how I was going to think about something differently. And so definitely everybody on this call, Dave coming in with the pans and just seeing what he was doing with that, it was influencing me as a musician. I didn't play that, but it was still influencing me musically. And the beauty now is like playing with all these different musicians in the bands, or even growing up, we had Jubilation. Brian and I were in with guys from C Spot, and I'll never forget one of the guys in the band says like, "Hey man, you're too busy. Like you gotta like kind of just keep it simple." And I was being too busy, and rather than thinking like, getting upset, I just thought, yeah, I want to get better at what I do. So as far as like influencing, definitely my peers and the guys in the band and ladies in the band. And so that was huge for me, really learning how to approach music. But of course, like everybody else, like right now, I mean, just, the 45s, as everybody's already said, I think are awesome. They're a lot of fun. They remind me of the things we were doing when we were young, just really spectacular at what they do. I don't keep up with all the newer bands, but the groups that I hear come out now are amazing. I think I have a different appreciation. I don't put my nose up at certain styles anymore. I think I kind of can listen to it from a not so much of a ska snobs type of mentality. So that's cool too, being able to hear different musicians and listening to them. But just like the specials, the Scotalites, all the early Jamaican stuff is like, getting turned on to that was eye-opening. But yeah, just again, I think my biggest influence was playing with this band and seeing what they were doing, and just kind of, because I felt kind of like this. And then when I met with a lot of these guys, it was like my mind was kind of, so that's kind of what influenced me. So
Yeah, that's a good point, Wally, man. I'm not conducting the interviews, but as you were talking, I was thinking how much, like you've influenced my bass playing. I've always told you, like, Wally would write songs and he writes bass line. I'd be like, how the fuck did you come up with that idea? You know what I mean? How the fuck? But it's seeped into the way that I play now and what I would call my own style. For the past, I don't know, 30 years or so. So good answer. I like that.
I set that up so Jeff would say that about me. Thinking about how I was gonna find my way into no. But good. I appreciate that, Jeff. Appreciate
$10 is in the mail.
Yeah. Anyways, go for it, Dave, Pepe.
Well, wow, it's hard to follow you guys. I know I didn't realize that some of you guys like some of the music I like. Because we always talk ska and everything. But I grew up a lot. I guess I'm older than them a little bit, and like my time in the '70s kind of influenced me. I watched a lot of music really young. I was really lucky to live where I lived. I lived right down the street from Kenny Loggins and Jimmy Messina.
Oh, nice.
And they had like a really weird scene up at the top of the hill. And then around the corner, we had, David Lee Roth lived. And so I got to kind of be around, like, I went to Temple with David's sister when we were little kids when I was, back in the day. And, but they didn't really, I think what really influenced me the most was just being in marching band for a minute and then like learning about jazz. I had a drum teacher that like put a lot of music in my head. His name was John Tarabasso. He taught me a lot about bebop, and I suck at it. Could never really play it that well, but I learned to appreciate it. And I guess because I revolted from my drum teacher, because he was like kind of like a father figure to me, I got into punk rock kind of hard. It was kind of like one of those, I can't play jazz, I'll be in a punk band kind of thing. So I played in a punk band for a while, and that I got some chops playing drums, and I really liked all the the hip hop music that was like in the late '80s because I was in high school and I was around it. But I think what really changed my life was when I saw Bad Manners play, and I realized. I was already into the Selector really really hard. I had gotten into ska like kind of as a skunk, like kind of a punk, but kind of a skinhead, kind of a weird person, that hangs out with multiple males that think they're tough and stuff. And I started listening to Bob Marley when I started smoking a little bit more weed, and then boom, I saw the Untouchables, and I really had like a musical identity crisis, because I grew up around a bunch of hippies and I was influenced by hippie music. I got, band geek stuff in me from marching band. And I had, my drum teacher trying to make me a bebopper. And so I went to City College, and that was where like I started really like, I saw Fishbone. I saw Fishbone in the middle of the quad at my school. And there's another band called Spam Acid from Pasadena, which was like a really cool ska band. They were called Spam Acid. And I remember like going, wow, you could be any kind of musician and be in a ska band. I was like I could have been in Spam Acid. I actually wanted I wanted to play in Spam Acid, but I was playing in another band. And one time when we had this big benefit concert for the radio station at PCC, that's where I went to City College at. I just watched them play and I go, man, I want to play ska music, but I never got the chance. And so like through college, I somehow found myself at Cal State Long Beach where I met Brian. He was my second roommate. And I ruined his microwave. So he always tells that joke. So I had to bring that up. Like I threw away the microwave plate. And I remember sitting there, like I was sitting there listening to Stevie Ray Vaughan. Hey, Derek, I'm talking about, because I know you like him now and I'm going to talk to you about him someday. And he's all, man, you know, that sounds really good. He sings really good, but it's just like, that's not that hip. I remember how he said it, but it was like, remember we had that conversation in the pad. You were like, you know, it sounds really cool, but it's not that. And I'm like, and the whole musical identity hit me. Like I don't really got one. Like I'm not a drummer. I'm not a percussionist. I like diddle around on every instrument I've ever seen in my life. And I'm starting to fall in love with the steel drum because I was influenced really hard by the steel drum culture that was around Cal State Long Beach. And little bit by little, you know, and I remember like I was in the dorms like right before I moved in with Brian. I started really, really, really listening to Fishbone again. And listening to reality of my surroundings, like was just wow, like this is just so good. And so I really wanted to be in a ska band. So me at school, I go down to the practice room and I'm practicing my Bach, whatever it was, you know, some marimba etude. And I look out on the door and someone had put in ska musicians wanted or something like join us.
Can I tell the story? Can I tell it? No, I'm just playing.
Yeah, you gotta tell it because I'm not going to coherently tell it.
No. Go ahead, Pepe. Go ahead.
No. Well, you got what did it say on the thing?
Well, it did say it said musicians wanted for. It did say musicians wanted for a ska band, but it said musicians wanted for an all-female ska band.
Right. Okay. So I didn't read the female part.
I know.
I really want to be in a ska band. So I called him up and I was like, man, and he started talking. I was like, God, man, I really want to be in a ska band. So he invited me to this warehouse. I guess it was a warehouse. It was like a white room.
Well, wait a minute, real quick, because you called me and I'm like, well, this is for an all-female ska band. You're like, I don't give a fuck, man. I'll put on a wig and a dress if you want me to. I said, well, you don't have to go. And I said, you don't have to go that far, man. I said, we have a ska band though. And I said, you know, hey, why not? Let's give it a shot. But you know, so I'm glad you called, but you don't have to put the wig and dress on because there's another band that maybe we could use you in.
So like I show up in this room and I look around the room. I remember Chris specifically in the corner with this like grin on his face that like I'll never forget. And I look around the room and they're all in there and I'm like, oh shit, what the? So I set up my drums and I say, what do I do? And I just start playing. Next thing you know, like 3 or 4 years go by and like, you know, Mobtown like has influenced me beyond what, you know, I thought maybe nothing else has. It's maybe given like my non-musical identity some value because all of the music that I've been able to be involved with, whether it was, you know, as a music teacher or as a musician in any kind of band, whether it's, you know, the time I spent playing drum set or playing in the steel band or being in a rock band as a rhythm guitar player, which I'm trying to do currently, which I'm still working on. It all comes to one thing with Mobtown. And so the things that make me really attracted to the music of Mobtown was it kind of reminded me of Frank Zappa a little bit, you know? I listen to Frank Zappa a lot, like just in my car. Like I have every really weird Frank Zappa album, and I'm feeling really like crazy in the morning after a lot of caffeine. I put some of that on, and then I think, wow, you know, that's why Mobtown was attractive to me because to be real, like like Wally's tone on the guitar is phenomenal. And I knew that from the minute I walked in the room, and it kind of reminded me of Zappa. I never said this before, but in some ways it really did. And it reminded me of other guitar players as like the air guitar player in the middle of the night person I was at 13, like, you know, the rock stars I used to listen to, like Wally's tone just really turned me on. So like I started really appreciating like really fine guitar players, like a lot of blues guitar players, a lot of ska guitar players. I would listen to all the Alex would have so much cool music in his rep, you know, he knew the old sounds, and I would listen to those songs and I go, wow, like now I really, really appreciate the guitar. So I don't know, I kind of went off to the right, went off to the left, but really like all the music I've ever been around influences me. And one of the cool things about Mobtown is because it seems like it's a part of most of the music I've ever listened to in some way or form, and that's why I'm turned on by it.
Yeah,
Hey, you forgot
Alex.
about the samba influence, man.
What?
Your samba influence. You forgot about that.
You know what? That's a whole other identity, man.
I know. I'm just saying that influenced you too, though.
That's like the
I
soccer.
mean, you influenced me with that shit. So.
Oh yeah, yeah. Okay. Well, yeah.
Plus, you're a hooligan. Plus, you're a soccer hooligan, dude.
You know,
That's
all right. I guess I take samba for granted, you know, because I was around it, so immersed in it, and
That's hard to play, man.
so but I don't listen to samba anymore. I haven't listened to samba since like maybe 2003, like maybe like not even once. Like, but I've listened to like so much. Like my reggae taste has changed because I used to just listen to Bob Marley. I would listen to Black Uhuru. I listened to Third World. I would listen to Steel Pulse, in that order. And now, like being around like the people I've met since I've joined the band, my reggae influences are a lot deeper because I've heard so much more music. And I love Steel Pulse, by the way.
Yeah,
Steel Pulse is my heart and soul.
They're like second to Bob Marley for me.
Yeah, yeah, no, yeah. Now they're more because they're still here.
Well, sure, all right, I'll give you that. But Bob Marley sounds fresh today. He sounds like, you know what I mean? His shit never sounds old. It sounds just like it's right now, to me, anyways.
But I guess the one thing that I'd like to say before I leave this topic is that the great thing about being in the band with these guys is that I got to meet Pauline Black of the Selector, and for me that was like one of those weird moments where I went, "Fuck, it's her," and I froze. I went, and I realized like now like I should have probably talked to her more because she probably would have talked to me, but like that was like the moment. Like I was like, wow, I'm really hit it now. I met Pauline Black. I was like, wow, like starstruck.
Yeah, we just saw her. What was it, last year? I think we just saw her last year at the Glass House.
Yeah, at the Glass House. And I saw her at Supernova.
And honestly, opening up for Bad Manners is something to brag about in my world.
Awesome. Jose?
Yeah. Now, how did the band get formed? How did you all find each other?
Wally.
Well,
What was it?
no, late 80s, 88, 89, music is starting to blow up in my head, at least, and ska is right there in the forefront because I had my cousins that listened to it and introduced me to a lot of that stuff. So, picking up the music and starting in the bands and stuff, and started to find my interest going towards ska. Meeting Jeff was a huge part of it because, again, into the same type of stuff and kind of having the same interests, and we were starting to go to shows at that time too. So it was just perfect because we played music. We were getting introduced to things beyond the specials, and just everything was opening up, and it was crazy going to the shows and seeing people on stage and kind of sharing that same passion to want to do the same thing. So it just kind of started from there. I went to Downey High School, and I remember we did a Christmas. They had a Christmas thing in the gym or something, and Jeff and I did the night before Christmas ska version with a couple of other guys, and so it was just starting to figure out like, oh, we can actually play this, and and we kind of sound like ska. It sounds like ska. It sounds like the bands we're listening to. So that's where it just snowballed. And we did we had it was called our first gig was at the Downey Way Out of Broadway talent show and at the high school, and it was with Chrissy, the one that Alex mentioned earlier, Mario Pittman and Matt Drow and Jeff and I, and we were gonna do that gig as Latins Go Ska, and we changed the name to Mobtown at the last minute because our friend Scruffy, that's what we would call her. We were thinking about names in the parking lot at Jack in the Box, and at that time it was always like Spy this and Agent this and whatnot. So
Okay.
what about Mobtown? So we're like, yeah, that sounds cool. So we picked it. And it was funny because I was playing with the Israelites at that time. A lot of people played with the Israelites throughout the years. And I met Diego Carlin, who was with Lucky Seven playing trumpet. He was also in the Imperials. And I mean, for me, it took a lot to ask him, like, hey, do you want to play trumpet? And we're doing nightclub and we're doing, I forget what other song we were doing, but so he says, yeah, I'll play. So he came down to the high school and we did the night show, which I still have on video. And he played, and where it really blew up for us, or where it kind of for us thought like, okay, we can be a ska band. And it was because after that gig, if you want to call it that, he's like, hey, he goes, we have a show coming up at Fender's Ballroom with the Scandals and Lucky Seven and Orange Street and
all kinds of bands.
yeah, he's like, do you want to do
Old
it?
English.
Yeah, and he's like, do you want to do it? I'm like, heck yeah. He's like, well, how many songs do you have? I'm like, two, the two you played. He's like, well, if you can come up with, he goes, if you can have a set list of 7 songs, he goes, I'll tell Courtney from Culture Beat to put you on the bill. I'm like, so I remember calling Jeff, and I was so excited because it was almost like you're playing some huge theater or whatever with some big ass band. But for me, it was like, this is a ska show. We got invited to play a real ska show. And I called Jeff and I'm like, he says that if we have 7 songs, we can play it. The show's like in a month or whatever. Fuck it, we can write 7 songs. We can do it. So we used to rehearse at my mom and dad's house. And yeah, we put the band together. We got a couple guys from was it a couple? No, who was on there? One of the guys from the school band, the high school band, played trombone, and 2 of them, Jason Allen on sax and Gabe Medina on trombone. And yeah, so we had 7 songs: Set Me Free, Rude Boy Chronicles, Mobtown, Ska Revolution. We did Nightclub. I think there were 2 others, Rhythm of Ska, and I forget the other one. But Rhythm of Ska became the title track to the first CD. But yeah, that's how it started. Once we did that and we started playing, once you do your first ska show, it's like the ball gets rolling, and
Yeah.
you start getting calls for, and at that time, it didn't matter what we were getting called for. It was backyard parties were huge,
Junkyard parties.
yeah, I mean, it was like empty warehouses, house parties, some were clubs, some were bars. And
Corner shop.
yeah, and we just went from there. And after that first show, there was no stopping us for the next almost 10 years. And that's when, things happen and people start to leave or their lives change and they go in different directions. And then, we're on the hunt. We're not going to stop doing what we do. And it's
Yeah.
always, Jeff and I since the beginning, but along the way, we lose a keyboard player, and then someone says, hey, did you know Blue, she plays piano? And for us, we're like, what? As long as you can play, we're like, so we approach her and she's like, yeah, I'll do it. Or, and then comes to rehearsal and does her thing. And then, Alex comes aboard from knowing, Chrissy, and then, then Pepe answers the ad, and then we're looking for a sax player. He's like, my roommate plays tenor sax, and it's like he played on Sublime's, Date Rape, the dun 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 dun. We're like, yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, we got someone famous in the band, so Brian comes in, and we had Amy, and Amy was high school band and trumpet, high school band, and so anyways, but that's how it all got started. Was through the high school talent show, and having that in with the Israelites and meeting Diego from the Imperials and Lucky Seven was kind of that boost for us, to get us out of the living room in the high school talent show type of thing. So
Yeah,
certainly.
yeah. In that show, we showed up as vendors. We showed up like I don't remember what time we were
11,
supposed
we
to
showed up
play.
at 11 o'clock in the morning with our truck full of, and remember we were knocking on the door. The
Yeah,
gig
they're
was
like,
in the
"What the
night.
fuck are you doing here?"
And the janitor guy opened up. He's like, "What are you doing here?" We're like, "We're here for the gig." He's like, "Are you kidding me? This place isn't open till 7 o'clock tonight or whatever." So
We're
we
just that excited. Yeah.
yeah, we were excited. We sat around and we've never done a sound check before. Had never gone through a PA, and we did our first sound check, and it was like, wow, this is going to sound amazing. And the sound guy got totally wasted, man, or something happened because whatever we sounded like in sound check did not
Oh no.
sound like that when we were playing. And I didn't know we could stop or tell them we more monitor or just kind of,
No.
but for us, it was like, it was funny.
But it was also back in the day, so it was during a time where like you have a whatever bass sounds you're gonna put out because I wasn't playing bass. That was Matt at that time.
Mm.
But any kind of bass sounds or guitar sounds, you're producing all the sound for the hall. Like they're not miking you, they're not putting you in direct. So it was a different time. It was a different time in terms of the way that things sounded. We didn't have a big old 8x10, Galleon Kruger or SWR cabinet.
Yeah, we had
or monitors.
Yeah, we had Trace Elliott cabinet with a Marshall half stack head.
Yeah, where's your Marshall half stack?
Yeah, so that's what we played with. So we were kids. We just played with whatever we had, So
I remember trying out for the band, and I showed up with a snap cap and a Morsi dude because I was trying to have my hair. I wanted to fit in a little bit, and some cheesy ass button down. And I never played ska in my life. I didn't know what the fuck I was doing, man. I never played Skylight shit. I'm like, what this ain't two-tone shit, I had to try to learn this ska beat. And I tried out, and I thought I fucked it up, and so they said, "We'll let you know," because they had some other guys coming out, and they had a gig like 2 days later, 3 days later.
Nah, what you don't know is that was the script. We'll let you.
Oh yeah, that was the script.
Oh, anyways, they gave me a call back, and they say, "Hey, we got a gig. You want to try out?" And I go, "When is it?" And they told me, and I learned like 12 songs in 2 days, a day and a half or something.
Yeah.
So then we played the show. I was excited.
yeah.
It was at the fucking Hong Kong. And the whole floor just fucking bounced. Whoa, whoa. Like, what the fuck? It was so energy filled. It was great. And afterwards, Wally let me know that I was in the band. I was like, what? Really? I thought I was going to just fill in for the day because I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. So it was cool. And from there, I just kind of grew, and it was awesome though. It was probably one of the best days. Changed my life. You know what I mean? Actually, because I was playing other shit. I was doing like new alternate music. I was doing that kind of scene, and we had to pay to play and sell tickets and all this shit. And ska bands, they're paying you to come out. Get the fuck over here. There's plenty of shows. So that was another plus for it too. But I don't know, just things fell in place. Meeting Chrissy was the key, I think, and then just went great. So anyway, I just want to add that little story.
Cool. Now, is there any
sorry.
memorable shows that you played with someone that you admire in the scene?
I'm sorry?
Was there any
Memorable shows.
memorable shows that you played
Oh,
with
man.
anybody?
There's too many to. You know what? I'm gonna start this one because there's too many to list. There really is too many to list. The specific ones for me are all of the ones where I met a legend or so. Like Fishbone, that was the first time I met those guys. The Selector, I met like Pepe said, Buster from Bad Manners. Met all of the Scotalites, all the original Scotalites. We were very, very fortunate to play with them maybe 3 times.
Wow.
All the guys, all the Jamaican legends, we were just very fortunate. We had a good relationship with Ezot from Showcase Theater, and he was during the time that Legends were coming out, so I got to shake hands with and hang out with these guys. And it was always, well, it wasn't just us playing for us, it was us wanting to play for people that were had influenced us,
Mm-hmm.
And the very fortunate thing for us is, I mean, it would have been great to meet like Prince or, you know, Larry Graham or any of these guys, but really our idols, we were meeting them and we were on stage with them, you know, so we got to shake hands with these guys, be on stage with like Dave Wakeling and Ranking Roger when we played with Special Beat, you know. Um, oh, Linville, different people from the Specials. I mean, I know I'm saying a lot of broad, giving it a broad stroke, but it really has influenced me to like be a musician and meet the guys that influenced me. You know, it's like meeting
Yeah.
somebody like you're looking at television, you're like, I know that guy, and then you know some of these relationships you keep over the years. So like I met like Angela Moore. Everyone in the band knows how much I love Fishbone, and you know we got to play with them when we were at the Belly Up. I was so
Yeah,
excited.
it was a
Um,
great show.
I was so freaking excited for that show that you know there was a barrier, so the audience couldn't go backstage, but we were backstage because we were the band. And I think they played Unyielding Conditioning when it first came out, and I just lost my fucking mind. I jumped on stage. I fucking accidentally knocked down Norwood's mic and shit. And at that time, the Belly Up had two beams and like cross beams, and security was coming on to get me off stage. And I was like, "Fuck!" And I climbed a cross beam, like you know, I climbed up the cross beam and shit, you know. And so when I met Norwood, I met Norwood a couple times, and then I took a lesson with him a couple times. When I met him, I was like, dude, I'm that kid that knocked over your mic at Belly, you know? And he's like, oh yeah, he just kind of laughed, you know, whatever. But point, I know almost all the band in Fishbone now. I mean, I've met them, and a couple of them like I have in my phone. And I guess that's like it's like who does that? You know what I
You
mean?
made it.
I made it. I've arrived.
When we were young, I mean, look at 16, 17, 18, early 20s, and it's like for us, they were our idols. I mean, like Dave said earlier, it's like to anybody else it might not be a big deal, but to us it was like they were like rock stars, man. I was like, are you kidding me? I'm sitting next to Desmond Decker or
Yeah.
Roland Aiken or you know, like we were, I mean, I remember I was asleep one day and I pick up the phone and it's like, is this Wally? I'm like, yeah. He goes, oh, this is Dave. I'm like, who's Dave? Dave Wakeling. And I'm like, Dave
Get
Wakeling.
out of here.
And he's like, yeah, this is
Right?
Dave Wakeling from the English Beat. I'm like, and then I woke up and I'm like, the fuck, holy shit! Like, he's calling my house, you know, because we played a lot with them, you know, back in the days, and you know, we played actually a lot. We opened a lot for them, but you know, to anybody else, it's not a big deal. But to us, you know, Tommy McCook, Roland Alphonse. I mean, I remember Brian telling me Roland Alphonse was my teacher. He taught me how to play ska, and I'm like, well, like explain that. He's like, I listened to those records and I basically you can correct me if I'm wrong, Brian, but like he was like, I learned his solos and he's teaching me. He's teaching me
Yeah.
how to play, you know, and to think like we've all been able to have conversations, sit there. I'm more like Dave. I if I get around somebody that I've met a lot of people through this band, but I freeze. And it's not because I feel not because I'm trying to be rude. It's just it trips me out still when
Yeah.
we opened for Billy Preston, we opened for Gene Loves Jezebel. I mean, it's just silly. Not Billy Preston, but like these are like, I mean, it's just there's a slew of people that we've opened for, and you know, I feel really blessed that we've all been there together to be able to just you know all the specials and Selector and Bad Manners and the English Beat and you know, all the ska legends. And even when we came back for our reunion shows, we're you know we're opening for the Pioneers, and then Linville jumps on stage and you know sings Simmer Down with us, and you know I'm looking at Derek and he's looking at me and I'm looking at Alex and there's just like this huge grin on our face, like this is
Yeah,
fucking
that was
awesome. Like
monster.
Hey,
you know
you know
little
what?
14-year-old Wally looking at a poster would have never thought like, hey, that you know this little band you have that's practicing in your living room in about another 30, almost 35 years, you know, he'll be on stage, he'll be on stage singing with you guys. And you know, so it's cool, you know, and to Jeff's point, it's like there are people that we just really looked up to, and people might not know who they are, but they're really big to us, you know.
Mm.
So it's cool. Really
Yeah, and
cool.
I got to be in I went on tour with Dave Wakeling too. So that was even another one. Like, Wally mentions it's getting a call and saying it's Dave. I got an email saying this was Dave Wakeland. I say, fuck you, man. Like, whatever. Spam. But it turned out to really be him. And I went on tour with him for a while. So that was, that was awesome you know, being with a legend.
Yeah.
You know what?
Nice.
I have a bucket list. Like, I never met Suggs.
Oh, from Madness?
Yeah, I always wanted to.
Well, keep on living, dude. It might happen.
Yeah, keep on living. It might happen.
I just went to their concert when they came through. It was good. It was
I remember when Luis had the Scatolites play at BB King's.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a really intimate time that we got to hang out with the Scatolites before and after the show. I think that's the time I really remember with those guys. So let's move on real quick. I know you guys have 2 full-length releases, and then the demo tape. The first album, The Rhythm of Ska, on Steady Beat Recordings. The second was Cactus Juice on Moon Records, or Moon Ska. Tell us about working with, to me, 2 of the most legendary ska labels that I know of, with Luis from Steady Beat and also Steve Schaefer and Bucket from Moon.
Well, I mean, we've all worked with Luis for years, and I mean, I think Jeff said it, or Alex had said it earlier. I mean, especially in the 90s, the whole pay to play thing was huge, and that's what you did. But, fortunately, we didn't have to sell tickets. We were actually getting paid, and it went into our band fund, and it might not have been a lot, but we didn't have to sell tickets, and so I always tell people, like, Luis made that possible for us. Mm-hmm. I remember Jeff was there. We went to go see, we actually skipped out on we had made it to the finals on the Way Out of Broadway talent show. And I remember it was the Toasters, and I forget who else they were playing, and we wanted to go see him. And I remember my dad was real upset. He's like, "Oh, you made it, but you're gonna, you're supposed to play." And I'm like, "Well, we're gonna go to the Roxy to see these guys," and thinking like, "Wow, I'm gonna play on that stage one of these days." The Roxy was big, an actual club. Mm-hmm. Luis made that possible. We played the Roxy multiple times, the Whiskey, the Troubadour, all the big clubs in Los Angeles. Some aren't even there anymore, but it was through Luis, and he made that possible for us. And that the first, the backyard parties and introductions into the Hong Kong and Apple era, that's Luis. So for us, when we were ready to put the record out, I always tell Luis, this is like, we were the first band on your label, man. I mean, Mobtown was CD #1. We were the first band that he brought on, and we went to record with Bob Wayne out of Sunburst Studios, and who was an amazing engineer, amazing studio. It was an awesome experience. But for us, we were looking for a place to record, and I remember flipping over the record of Out of Nowhere, the Hepcat. Yeah. And I was looking through the credits, and I'm like, oh, it says they recorded at Sunburst Studios. So I thought in my head, I'm like, well, there's the phone number. If it's good enough to record Hepcat, well, shoot, it's good enough for us. So I called and went down there. My dad and I went down there, and we met with Bob and found out that it was Joey Otruda and Jump with Joy that were actually the ones that were recording there first, and then it was Hepcat. So really, it was just flipping the CD over, looking for the studio, went there, and that was an awesome process and experience. And then shipped it off to Luis. And I wish Chris was on the call, because Chris really had a lot to do with even just like the artwork and going to. I remember he was real. I'm like, yeah, he took a big interest in the graphics and the colors and all that stuff. And I didn't as much, but the spell check, I guess, wasn't there.
That from you, man.
I remember the first when the
more money.
Well, that was a strategy to make it collectible.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that was
with the old back. It's like looks all washed out.
Yeah. Daryl. So take that out. I don't know if you take that out. The inlet is it? Do you have the red inlet, or is it light pink? Yeah, that's the light pink. So the light pink, if you see the other ones, they're red, and it's like a deeper ruby red. That one's pink. And I remember Chris Seawright called, and he's like, I'm upset to my stomach. He's like, I'm so upset to my stomach. I'm like, why? Why are you? He goes, I'm just so upset. I'm like, why? He goes, it's supposed to be red. The inside, it's supposed to be red. And, Luis probably went with poor quality and it's
True.
pink. And I'm like, well, it's still, no, if you saw the original the way, I think the guy's name was Daryl or something. If you saw the original the way it was supposed to be, you wouldn't be saying that. And so anyways, we told Luis, and he was like, on the second pressing, we'll get it fixed. We'll. And I think if you look on the spine of it, it says steady bings. There's like a B or something.
Uh,
Is it spelled wrong there or is it spelled right?
I think it's spelled
Spelled right.
correct. It's spelled correct.
Oh.
I think it was just the CD.
It's
No,
the
because
CD
the one that
itself
didn't have the
that's
Y.
incorrect.
Okay, because I know the spine.
Oh.
I think there was another
Oh.
misspelling.
That
But-
was an
Yeah.
homage to Jamaicans, man. You see that all the
Yeah,
time.
exactly.
Yeah.
I remember. I was at
Yeah.
Luis's place when you guys came to pick up the CDs and pointed that out, and he came back and said, "Oh shit, I fucked up." Hey, that's Steady Beat's first release.
It was.
Yeah, we did that on my Macintosh Performa with Print Shop.
Yes.
Sweet.
So I remember the internet was big, and I never forget this, Brian. Now that you said that, because you lived in that back house
Yeah.
by the college, and so at what point? Because I remember, was Daryl involved? Was it Darren or Daryl who was involved with some of the?
Yeah, there was another guy. Yeah, I think his name was Daryl. Yeah.
But this is going to sound really silly, and I'm going to admit it on video or on the tape here. But Brian had dial-up, and I remember I had never experienced the internet before. Brian, I remember he hit the dial-up, and then Brian goes, "Here we go into the wonderful world of the internet," or something like that. Or he goes,
Cyberspace.
the World Wide Web. And I remember thinking like, oh, this is crazy. Like I remember thinking like it's kind of scary too. Like, wow, like where are we going? But I never told you that. But yeah, that was I'll never forget that day at your house that one day.
That's funny.
That was funny.
That's awesome.
So I've got some flyers here to share with y'all. I don't know if you guys remember some of these shows. Can you guys see that?
Yes.
Yes.
This was the Alligator Lounge, Cherry Pop and Daddies, the Hippos, Mobtown, and Melting Pot.
Yep. I
Yep.
remember that.
We've also got another one that you guys played for me. Pocket Lint, Mobtown, Hippos, and the Skeleton.
Yep.
Mhm.
We've also got here this show that you guys did for Luis, that
Those
big
are the
ass
ones.
one at Terraza Hamay.
Uh-huh.
Many a shows back then. I love that venue.
Well,
that
that,
was
that
awesome.
show is, if I'm not mistaken, we introduced Malik that night in the band. That I think.
Yeah, that was it.
That was his debut.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was amazing. That was an amazing. Because Malik is amazing. But I remember that was the one he debuted with Mobtown that night. That was exciting.
Yeah, and C Spot
Was that-
returned. And then there's this last one here, very special one. You guys,
Oh yeah.
specials, and my band, the Hippos.
Yeah. So going back to what Dave had said earlier, I remember that was a show I was backstage, and I forget who walked back, but I remember freezing, and they're like, "Hey, nice guitar," and I just put the guitar down and I left. I forget who it was, but I remember it was like thinking like, "What an idiot! Like, why didn't I say, oh my God, how are you doing?" and blah 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 blah. I just remember just straight face, put my guitar down, and I walked out.
Mm.
So
Lost opportunity there.
lost opportunity.
Yeah.
Lost opportunity. But I was in
Hey,
awe.
That Alligator show with the Cherry Pop and Daddies, is that the one that the riot broke out?
I don't.
That was-
No. I
That
think
was
you're,
Hepcat,
That
right?
was Hepcat Mobtown.
That's right. That's right. It was
Yeah.
Alligator Lounge, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I thought you were talking about that gig that Luis had at Dizzy Debbie's, where all the skinheads broke the bathroom sink and
Oh no,
all
no,
that shit.
I wasn't that one. I wasn't that one. Anyways, I remember.
Jose? Did you have a question, Jose?
Yeah, the album name Cactus Juice. Where did that come from? And the artwork. Where did that come from?
Okay, that's two different ones. So
Yeah.
all right. So okay, so this
Dreadlocks?
goes a little bit into dreadlocks, right? So the reason well, not the reason why it's called that, but cactus juice. So I don't, how do I explain this? I can just grow dreadlocks out of my head, right? I mean, if I don't comb and if I culture them. But everyone asks, like, how do you clean it? Like they're unclean, these different things, the way that one way that you can clean and like rejuvenate your hair when you have dreadlocks is by using cactus juice, aloe vera juice, like real cactus juice. Um, at that time, um, Wally had dreadlocks. I had dreadlocks, and Robert had dreadlocks. And then the band in general had taken a deeper dive into reggae. And I think who led that was Alex, actually, with all of his digging and stuff and going on tour and different things. And the band had been through some things. Um, so Cactus Juice, I don't know how it was picked. I think Wally probably can answer to that, but that's the reference. So Cactus
Okay.
Juice. Yeah.
Yeah, they're coming right back. They just sent that to me.
Okay. Well, I'll keep on talking.
Wally had someone do the artwork, right?
I don't,
Yeah, that was
I tend to think it was Brian, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
That was a gal who
Looks like your Taco Bell sign.
yeah, she was a friend of my sister's. They worked together and she was super huge Mobtown fan. And so when we asked her to do it, she was like, "Oh yeah."
Nice.
It's like
Brian, you
yeah.
took us out to the desert to take pictures, didn't you? What was it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we did a desert shot. Yeah. All that stuff.
Do you have that album, Daryl, at
Which
hand?
one?
Cactus Juice.
Yeah. I have the European one though.
Mm.
Oh,
Oh,
interesting.
European one.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, there's a European.
could you
Oh, you
show
guys
the?
didn't know that
Oh, okay.
Moon Scott bootlegged your stuff and sent it to Europe? What? I'm just kidding. Now you know. Surprise.
Yeah, we went out to the desert and found this like burned out house in like the Salton Sea or something.
I don't even
that's a
remember where we were.
fuzzy memory, but that was pretty cool.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you guys played a lot of shows with Hepcat over the years. We have been asking in the interviews if you guys could tell us each a small experience that you guys had with Greg Lee, rest in peace.
Oh, Greg, for me, well, one of my stories, a small one, is I knew Greg almost from the beginning, like when we started playing, and the times that we played most together was before either of us had an album out, I think. So we were playing at Spanky's. We played at before the showcase. And funny thing is Greg was when I lived in LA, I lived off of behind the Wiltern Theater, like a block away, block or two away from maybe 3 or 4 blocks away from the Wiltern Theater, on at this place called the St. Francis Drake Apartments. And Greg moved in maybe 3 apartment buildings further than me, and we ran into each other one day going home, and I was like, "What are you doing here? What are you doing here, dude?" So like we've had a kind of a friendship over the years, and one thing that I would always like when I sized out of some cool clothes, like the Western kind of big collar jackets and different things, I'd give them to him. Um, I I would meet up with him. Like when I moved to San Diego, he gave me a call and he was like, look, yeah, I know things are going to be different, but yeah, you're here and there's a community down there, Linda's down there and different things, and just support. I never had a chance to really say anything about the brother. Um, He really did mean a lot to me. Um, he was another person that I really looked up to. Always solid. During the time that there was so much competition between bands and between sounds and different things, Greg never showed that. He always showed friendship and camaraderie and heart. Um, uh, I was really devastated when he passed away, and I haven't talked about it because he passed away very close to the time, not the same time that my sister actually died, but um, in days of her death day is when he passed away. Um, I think it was a huge influence, and he's sorely missed. Just so I love seeing him grow up. I just, at the end of the day, I love I love to say that I grew up with him. I love to say that we had a good relationship. Every time we saw each other, it was always a good time, and you know, I was looking forward to riding with him because I started riding scooters. I got myself a scooter and started riding. I was looking forward to that. Um, and I'm really proud of Hepcat too. I'm proud of where they are, how known they are, how good they've always been. But especially Greg, even when Alex wasn't in the band briefly, Greg was the center of Hepcat, and yeah, he's really one of the icons. So it's
Yeah.
sad to see that he's gone, but I'm glad to have called him a brother.
Yeah, I think for me, as far as the band, I mean, you said icon, definitely. I think I don't think Mobtown always had all the opportunities to play. We somehow missed bills together. If you really look back at the Flyers and look at how many times we've actually played with them, it really hasn't added up to a lot. But for me, at least, I've the Hepcat, Greg and Alex and Greg, I mean, and the band really, but I don't, not to sound like a dork, but like I've kind of fanned out over them too, and I always kind of saw them as the way I saw the other groups I was mentioning, like some of the people that I grew up and were was influenced by, and just the Specials and Scottalites, and when I was younger and Mobtown was younger and really wasn't were playing what we weren't where we were at, but I mean it was like going to see Hepcat and really just being in awe of them as entertainers and just really going like, wow, these guys are just they're amazing and putting on a show and really kind of introducing us to like Jamaican music and saying, hey, we're keeping this thing alive. And so when I would see him, I always felt a little intimidated to go up there and talk to him as when I was younger. As when Mobtown was over and we were still going to shows and backstage, I then realized, hey, Greg's cool. He's Greg. But um, it took me a while to get over that kind of like, wow, it's like Greg from Hepcat. That's awesome. And I think I've always held on to that. When I see them, I get that feeling again of when I was younger, where it's like such an amazing band, and to me, they're legends. They're legendary in this music and this scene, and I think I'll always see them as that. I'll always kind of look at them as a fan first, I think, and that doesn't happen a lot, I think, with some of the bands. And for me, it's like, yeah, I always felt like a little timid or shy and kind of just a little in awe, like when we were around them, like, wow, this is Hepcat, because just what they meant, in high school, going to their shows. And, I remember when they would play, for me at least, it was always like, I'm gonna wear a suit to this show. It's like Hepcat's playing. And I remember going to the Palomino for their CD release party, and um, being there and just it was really cool. So for me, meeting him as a friend later on in life, yeah. But in the band and during the Mobtown years, I think I was always more like, oh shit, it's Hepcat. So that's just me. That's how I am. But just an amazing person and gone way too soon, and it's a shame, and I'm really, it's a loss for obviously his family, but for us as a community, it was like, holy shit, way too soon, way too soon.
Yeah.
For
So,
me, oh, go ahead.
go ahead. No, go ahead, bro.
No, well, I didn't really get to know Greg personally. I felt like I knew him because of, we grew up in the scene together. But I wish the bands were more like hung out more afterwards. I wish that would happen back then, but I don't think I never seen it that much. People just did their own thing. So, but I definitely respected them. They were one of my favorite bands to see all the time. We'd probably go see them. I mean, we love to see them too, so we always go see them. They always put a great show, great entertainment. Definitely worth the money. You know what I mean? You got your money's worth with them for sure. And they did mean a lot to me, and I was really sad when he passed. It was kind of heartbreaking to hear. Because we just played like a couple weeks before that with them, and but I wish I would have got to know a lot of the bands in LA more.
Yeah, the last time I saw or I talked to Greg was at the interview when for Kat's movie, when she was interviewing him, and he was just making sure that because he brought his daughters there, just make sure that they were totally safe. And I know Kat wanted to make sure that they were safe when he was in the interview, and made sure someone was taking care of them. And he was just a great father. You tell that he just loved his girls.
And they definitely introduced like the Jamaican vibe and the dancing and everything. They brought it, and it was cool. It was very entertaining, and they were keeping it real.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah,
Anyways.
I would say, I tell people, people that show you music are important, right? So we talked about some important people like Luis. We talked about Alex, who was, Alex Vargas, who showed all of us so much music, in the van, um, and then you take all that and you say, well, Greg, he was our Clash, he was our Van Halen, he was like the guy that showed us everything,
Yeah.
as a scene. And I think that's the importance that I put on Greg. And then you add on top of that just this incredible performer. I have this memory of playing with him in Western Standard Time at the band shell down by MacArthur Park. And what's cool about that band shell is when you're on stage, the lighting is such that it casts this cool shadow. And I remember looking up that night at Greg's shadow on the side of the band shell, and it was just like watching some kind of vintage movie. That's just like the coolest like spy movie you've ever seen. It was just and there were so many moments like that with Greg where he would just you'd be walking around in Hollywood or something, and he'd pop out of a record store, like heading towards his scooter or something. You're just like, what? And he'd come over and give you a big hug, and just like, I can't believe I'm walking the planet with you, man. Like, this is so great. So those are my memories of Greg. Yeah.
I used to love going and watching them at Alex's bar because it was only a stone's throw from my house, and like I'd always get tickets early, and I felt kind of like a geek, like just being a groupie, like, and I don't really know everybody that goes there, even though I live around the corner. And I caught him outside really late one night, and I started talking to him, and I think it was like the second to last time I saw him, but it was like the last time I spoke to him. And I kind of wish I could see them again, like one more time. I could use one more.
Yeah, I think everybody could use one more.
All right, Jose, did you want to go ahead?
Yeah. Now I was wondering, has there been any compilations with Mobtown in it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
There's been quite a few. There's
I was looking, yeah.
Goddamn Her Way.
Scarmageddon.
The Scarmageddon. There was the Luises.
Yeah, the
Branches,
right?
branches,
Oh,
and
the-
Sniff.
Branches. Yeah, the Females of Ska. I think Stiff Dog, didn't you put one out with us on there? Or no?
I don't think I did. No,
Oh,
it was
it's too bad, Daryl.
no.
It's
You
too
know what
bad
it was?
for you, buddy.
Luis did the Skaquake 2.
Yeah.
Well, you guys were on Skaquake 2, right?
No. I
No.
don't think so.
We're in the compilations.
Yeah, but you guys are also on Ska Authentic and West Coast Chronicles, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, as well.
Yeah, we're on a few. I don't remember them all, but I know we've been on like a few European ones.
Tree on it.
Oh yeah, no, I mean Luis and I work so close together. I mean we put each other's logos and stuff on flyers and CDs and shit. So, but you guys, a lot of you guys played with other bands. I know Wally, you play with Jackie Mendez. You played with After Hours, C Spot, Angel City All Stars, and you and Mark run Angel City Records. Is that right?
Yep.
Jeff, you play with Smoke and Mirrors, and anybody else?
Oh yeah. Through the years, I played with Smoke and Mirrors. I played with Police and Thieves, which is another project that me and Wally had. Angel City Records as well.
Agrolites.
I played with the Agrolites. I went on tour with them. Went on tour with the English Beat. I had a little project with Angelo and the singer, and Angelo was actually playing on the drums for this. We never recorded anything, but I did that. Let's see. I played with C Spot one time at Universal City Walk.
What about Vibe?
Oh, Vibe. Yeah.
I can't remember that.
One,
Wow.
Vibe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, Jubilation. Were you in the Oh, you weren't.
No. I did
Vibe.
the Freak Tones more
With
recently.
Malik. Yeah.
Also did with Malik the Future Ancients.
Yeah.
What was that group that no, I never played with. I practiced with them. I played with Corey Kingston All Stars. Done a lot of All Star stuff. Yeah. And then fuck, like if we're just talking ska bands, but me and Wally have played with like Archie Bell and
Remember the Coasters?
Oh, the
Coasters,
The
Brenda
Coasters.
Holloway.
Yeah.
A lot of people.
different groups.
Also, Brian, you played, and you still play with Western Standard Time, Smoke and Mirrors, After Hours, C Spot. I think everybody played with, I guess After Hours, and then your DJ Dub Robot.
Dub Robot, also Long Beach Dub All Stars.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's right. There's another one there.
Mm-hmm.
Sublime,
And,
right?
and Sublime or something, right?
Yep, Sublime.
Vibe.
Vibe. Right up there. Yeah.
Pepe, you play with Melting Pot still. Rest in peace, Graham. I saw you at the service. That was pretty sad. Also rest in peace to Scott from that band.
Yeah.
Malik's with Irie Beats. Also. Anybody else play with any other bands?
Malik played with the Lions too.
Alex?
Yeah, I played with the Inland Empire All Stars. Jubilation.
Mm-hmm.
After Hours.
Police
and
and
Thieves.
Police and Thieves.
And I think that's it. As far as
I was looking at that After Hours CD, and if you look, it's like everybody in the scene is basically in
one of the songs or something.
Yeah.
That was a brilliance of Brad Pate, man. Like he was like one of the first people to do that. I think John Roy is starting to do that with Smoke and Mirrors now, but he was one of the first people to bring so many people on one project.
Yeah.
I remember that. Well, Derek, who you play with?
Police and Thieves. Almost everything that was Angel City, along with Wally and Jeff. Rude Boys Out of Jail.
Oh yeah.
Oh dang. Yeah.
And what else? All the various stuff that Angel City did. Wally and I play in a punk band together sometimes.
Oh yeah, Dive Bar Heroes.
Dive Bar Heroes.
Well, I did a couple of shows with Jackie Mendez too.
Oh yeah.
Short visit there. It was cool though. It was fun.
So
I
you
played
guys
a
all
show with the Allentons once.
Oh, you did?
Oh yeah,
I did.
played the Allentons, that's right.
The whiskey.
Were you in Allenton?
I played one show with them.
Me too. I just
What was Tommy?
Raise your hand if you play with the Allentons.
What was Tommy doing?
Raise your hand if you play with the
Tommy was
Allentons.
singing.
That's funny is because nowadays it's so common to have such cross pollination between bands, but back in the day that was
didn't
unheard
do
of.
that.
Yeah.
I filled in for Rudy Johnson. He couldn't make it, so
Mhm.
I filled in.
Right.
I just played at the Allenton's. It was an awesome show. So much fun.
Gosh, yeah,
Yeah.
that was real.
But you're right.
So,
Back in those days, we didn't share a lot of members back then. It was almost like we were
No,
very
that's what I was
protective,
just saying.
very protective, right? It was like
Yeah.
you can't play with them. You're with us. You know.
And feelings would get hurt if you
Gangs.
did. Yeah.
so how does a Mobtown song get created?
Go
Uh,
ahead, Wally.
If Wally likes it, it gets played.
oh yeah.
I'm just kidding. No, he comes up with most of the stuff, most of the songs. Him and Jeff,
It's always.
they work it out, and then they bring it to the band, and then we.
I mean, a lot of the
Just
stuff, the concepts. Yeah, there was a lot of the concepts I brought, but it's a collaboration with the band. Once it gets to the band, I mean, it's like there's thoughts and
Jeff comes
ideas and
with the ideas, and then we grow off of that.
yeah.
Sometimes he comes in with full songs, but a lot of times we get to grow off of it and play our own parts or whatever, come up with things like that. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
but its basic
Su-
ideas are mostly all his. Yeah.
Super organic process though, and very fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
I
The
would
beautiful
say
thing about
of all
that
the
songwriting process is that you guys all have your musical influences that you add into the band to make the sound. That's what I love.
Yeah, I think so too.
Now,
I've actually never seen it play out more fairly in any of the stuff I've done since. Like
Yeah.
working with other artists and stuff,
Yeah, for
especially
sure.
with the diversity, it usually comes down to just like someone has to become the benevolent dictator. And that I don't feel like that ever really happened with us. I felt like everybody we've seen, all their ideas were heard. If they
Yeah.
made it on or not, it didn't matter. They were still heard.
Well,
Yeah.
and to Brian's point, I mean, if you think about it, even okay, if I came with the idea that's one thing, but everybody had such an important part in the band and had like their own expertise in certain things where we needed each other for those songs to come alive. I mean,
Yeah.
even with the horns, what Brian could do with the section and help develop that into what it sounded like, I could have never done that. I might have hummed out a few notes and said, this is, da 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 da. But it's Chris and Brian and the horns that are going to make that actually come to life and
About the melodies and stuff like that.
sound like music and really create and elaborate on that more. And I mean, look at Dave. I mean, and everybody in this band, their touch and what they do in our songs. That's why we feel when we do reunion shows, like, sometimes not everybody can make it, and we feel like we're at a disadvantage, because we just feel like our sound isn't there. It's still going to sound like a Mobtown song, but it truly isn't going to have the feel and the sound. And last time we played, and we didn't have Brian and Dave and Robert, and they're vital. They're vital to our sound, and we pulled it off, and we felt, hey, we're gonna do this and pull it off, and we're gonna swing as hard as we can. But for us on stage, for me, I did feel like I felt like I was missing an arm, so so everybody brings their unique flavor to this party. And I think a lot of bands are like that, and we've been around for a long time, but these records, they wouldn't be, they just wouldn't be what they are if it wasn't for this band all adding their special twist to it. And they definitely did. And that's what you hear. That's what you hear on them.
And I don't think we ever fought like writing songs at all, ever, never.
We've fought before, but maybe not over
Yeah, but
songs.
not like writing songs.
We've-
How the hotline should go.
We're passionate. We're all passionate, and just like any other band, we go through our times and our disagreements. And the beauty of it now, and I'm jumping on this a minute, but the beauty of it now is that we're all older, and we're just, that's not us. When we were kids, we were younger, and now I'm truly just, when I see these guys, it's just, it feels good to be around them and play again. And that's what's amazing right now as we all enter this stage in our life. It's cool now when we're together, and it's like, yeah, I want to do this. It's a family. Yeah. I want to do it.
Yeah, I think something about going off of what Wally said, like and what Blue was echoing was, it does feel like a family. Like we're there for each other we've all made each other grow, and some of that growing pain was early on, but it wasn't as hard even then as it could have been for like other how it could have been like other bands kind of other bands experience it. So we weren't in these knockdown drag out fights generally. You know, we weren't in this ego kind of egotistical kind of mentality that or we weren't trying to cut each other down so much. So I think that all the hard lessons that we learned, I think we had to learn to grow up, and I think it really helped out a lot. You know, it helped us all grow. At one point, you know, we had two different sides of Mobtown. So we had a one band. So we had one side that was more I'd call professionally trained, and then another side that was more street trained. And those two clashed a little bit, you know. But I can speak for myself in saying I took a lot from the people who had been taught, you know, and disciplined in music, and I think those same people in the band took from me learning, having been self-taught, something. So we all kind of have an exchange. Um, I don't think you see that in a lot of bands. I think, you know, we're really what I love the most about being on stage with this band is that this is my family. You know, my family is super small, but the people that are on this call and the people that aren't on this call, that are part of the band are like family to me. And it's, you know, I keep in contact with Wally decently. I keep in touch with Pepe. Anytime I see Wallace, it's great. You know, and Alex, I wish I could see more. You know, um, you know, Malik, I talk to all the time. Blue's my buddy. You know, it's just a family.
Yeah, and one thing too, if I you know like Derek here next to me, Derek has played recently with Mobtown. He came in the past couple shows, but he's been there since the beginning. He's been at all our shows. He was, you know, skinhead back then with, you know, with everybody, and been to all the events, everything through the 90s. You know, he's been there with us, and I always tell
And
him
he's
like,
family.
yeah, he's family.
Literally.
He is, yeah, he's my
Literally.
brother-in-law too. You know, but I'm like, I remember thinking like, how come I never told Derek to play guitar? Like he was always there. He was at every single show. Like, it's like, why didn't I just
Carrying instruments.
yeah, you know, I was like, I should just maybe man pick up the guitar, but you know, so but yeah, it's we've had a lot of we're just like any other band trying to make it, man, and we go through growing pains, and the beauty of this band is we've been able to survive and come through and it's made us stronger, I think, as a band, and it's fun. It's truly rewarding for my soul to when I play with these guys. You know, it's one thing that I play in a lot of different bands, but when it's going to be Mobtown, um, it it really is. It means something to me, and I'm truly genuinely like excited to do it. And I have to hold back all my old urges too, because I don't want that to come out. So, you know, I try to keep it tame, you know, but it's just all that passion coming back, you know.
Now, my favorite Mobtown song is the one, Wally, that you wrote for your parents.
Oh, cool. Thank you.
24th anniversary. That's just my absolute go-to Mobtown song.
Oh, cool.
Of course, with a few of the others, like Jeff with his Goldfinger, which every time I hear that, I can't get that song out of my head. Go, oh, Goldfinger. But I think, Wally, I think you were talking about this release.
Yeah, that's it. Are we on
That's
that?
the way you were talking about. It was what's his name? It's John Halperin from Vegas.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
He's the one that put this out.
Oh, okay. Is
And
it
he
Rhythm of
asked
Ska on
Lisa
that?
and I.
Is
Yeah.
it Rhythm of Ska?
Oh yeah, you guys have Rhythm of Ska's on
Yeah,
there.
that's the one. I remember. I thought that
Yeah.
was yours. Okay.
And so that no, it was
Never knew.
John put it out. He wanted to do something for Luis and I. So he put that out, and I guess it sold a shitload, but I mean it's a $2 CD. How can you go wrong?
Oh yeah, we saw a lot of. I was able to buy a car from that release. I think
Oh
we
yeah.
saw a lot come out of that release.
Let me give you a tour of my mansion.
But you guys,
And TV cribs.
besides Malik and Jeff singing on some of those, you guys also had Amy Long and Alicia Martinez. Is that correct?
My cousin. Yep.
Okay, who also sang. All right.
Yes.
But you guys kind of strayed away from that. And you guys got more of a, because I know Amy sings a lot of songs, and so does Malik. Jeff sings his fair share, but maybe mainly just on the first album, right? Right, Jeff?
Yeah, well, not on the first album, on the demo maybe. And I'm not singing on. Well, I'm singing Goldfinger.
Hmm?
Um, no, and then some songs that I had written. When Malik joined, they became Malik songs.
Got
Yeah.
it. Got it.
Don't you sing on a song on Cactus Juice?
No.
Easy Rider.
Oh yeah, I do. He's a little bit modified. I so wanted to be Isaac Hayes right there, but my voice was not there. So
Oh, what do you mean? That's a banger.
Yeah.
Hey, I just remembered. I remembered the gal who did the artwork. Her name is Michelle Moore. Yeah,
Okay.
for Cactus Juice. She's the creative director for Metro now.
Oh, nice.
Would
Any
she give me a
relation to
job?
Malik?
Yeah, I know. Give me a job, please.
Tony Phones?
So, I'm sorry, Jose, did you have a question?
Yeah, I was going to ask about the cactus juice. I think Jeff was starting to say something about it. Where it has a more like kickback feel to it, with songs like "Remember" and "Silent Happiness." Is there a reason why it's such a chill album than the first one?
I think the I'm gonna start this, and I think Wally could probably chime in, but I think we had felt like we made it to a certain degree because we were on Moon Records. We're on Moon Records, and we kind of felt our maturity a little bit more. If you listen to the title track, Cactus Juice, which is one of my favorites on that album, um, it shows how much we were really listening to like different reggae. We were listening to like more Steel Pulse. We were just um, we're into kind of grooving different and moving different. Um, I I don't have anything more eloquent to say about that, but the way that I felt at that time was that okay, we got a shot at the big time, being on Moon. Uh, I think that we all kind of mastered our instruments a little bit more, and we're focusing on that more and differently. Um, I think technically that album that album I like. I mean, I like Rhythm of Ska a lot. It holds a special place in my heart. I love it, but I also do love Cactus Juice, and Cactus Juice really has a special place in my heart for the musicality of all the songs and the ideas that we laid down on that album.
Yeah, I think for the Cactus Juice, it was definitely an evolution and a growth for us. I guess that's the way I felt. I agree. I did feel that way. Musically, we were able to maybe we were capable of maybe doing things differently, or we had more experience now from the first record, and then playing with each other for so long. We were a more mature band for sure. Um, but like a lot of those songs, they were songs that just didn't make it to Rhythm of Ska. Coming to Get You was already written. Actually, Coming to Get You was on the 45
Old soul
that
song. Yeah.
Luis released from the Kong Kong. So for whatever reason, that didn't make it to Rhythm of Ska. Remember, there's an earlier version that Malik sings that we did at Sunburst. That never made it to the recording. There's an earlier version of Jump Up that didn't make it to that. So they were some of those songs were already written before this record too. Yeah, there it is. Introduced even just songs like I want to say a little more input. Like Alex, you had an input on what was that one song that we did?
Under Fire.
Under
Under
Fire.
Fire.
You know, um, there was a lot of different things going on. Silent Happiness that really just featured Brian. I wanted to come up with something similar to like a Roland Alfonso tune, and Brian just kind of took that over. What I do regret is there's not a whole lot of Pan on there, and Beppe always tells me that doesn't have as much Pan as he would have liked, but I wish I would have had more. But I some of it I like, some of it I don't. I think Rhythm of Ska had more of my youth feeling into it. Cactus Juice had more of a polished feel. Schneeby did that. I don't know if you guys.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Lee Burger.
Yeah, that was the guy that Moon Records. If you record with them, that was going to be the engineer. We recorded that at his place in Echo Park, I think, or no, Silver Lake, and
Yeah.
it was what do you call those places? Like they were dominatrix in the front.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
You know those places. You're there every week, dude.
Yeah. So,
his girlfriend was a dominatrix, and
Yes,
they had like a side business going on.
Yeah.
That,
Oh, I didn't know
funny
about
part
that.
is when I went to go pick up the master,
Getting high.
I don't know. They mixed that.
No, we had gone on tour,
and they mixed it.
Yeah.
And they mixed us and didn't give us any preview.
Yeah.
So he made some decisions that. Go ahead.
From what I remember, he said he was going to mix it, and then we were going to listen to it when we got back, and then decide. But he just sent it to Moon.
Well, there were deadlines to meet, So I mean, that's what they did. But Daniel Ash was at the house when I went down to pick up something, and that wasn't. He's from Love and Rockets, and I remember I did a Pepe thing too. He was actually talking to me, and it was in such a cool environment because it's their house, and we were looking over the hills, and I remember he says, "I wonder how many pornos they've made out there in those homes." And I just turned to him and I smiled, and then I walked back in the house and I thought, shit, what a dummy. Another missed opportunity for.
Didn't you play his guitar in some tracks?
Yes, yeah.
Wow.
He had this this kind of unique model that he made, and I remember Schneeby wanted me to play that on a few of the songs. So yeah, I did do that. But I don't know what the rest of you guys feel about, like Brian or you guys feel about the Cactus Juice. But
there's kind of a little bit of sadness too, because at that time, like, that was kind of like the end of some of our people that were in the band and were leaving and different things, and we went through some tough times. One of our friends died. We went on tour. Joe Sanchez, rest in peace. I think we had some disappointments in going all the way to New York and seeing 8.5 by 11 advertisement for our band being there when we were playing with, what was it, Alien Sex Fiend? That was at Coney Island High, and no one had met us there.
Yeah, we didn't feel represented by the record company.
Yeah. Yeah. So feeling wise, I like that. I got out. I was able to get out a song on that album that meant something to me called "Sweet Paradise." I really like Cactus Juice. I really like Silent Happiness. There was it was a good potential album, I think. I think what messed it up is, kind of feeling railroaded a little bit. Kind of feeling railroaded with it being released without us hearing, not having a lot to say as much as we,
Well, and Moon was collapsing too.
Right.
They didn't know it at the time, but maybe they did. Who knows?
Right.
Yeah.
Hey, Wally, isn't there a backstory to the Silent Happiness? Susan, from you used to go to silent movies, right?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you're right.
And that's why you came up with that idea?
You're 100%. So on Fairfax, they had the silent movie theater, and they used to do the Buster Keaton, all the silent movies there, and I don't know the gentleman's name, but he was murdered by his partner, I think, in the back alley or something. But yeah, that came. You're 100% right, Alex. That was the name came from, Silent Happiness, basically, the happiness from the silent movie theater, but definitely inspired by Roland Alfonso, and like I said, Brian just took that to the whole other level, which was awesome. So, but there was more.
I like that song a lot. What I don't like is the little backtrack that he did with the bells and stuff. I think it was a little too much. But other than that, I think the song's great. I really like that song. I mean, I can pass that, but that that's just my own pet peeve of it. That's all. Where it made it sound like a loop. You know what I mean? Bells. But other than that, I think it's a good song. That's one of my favorite songs on that album.
Now, is there a reason why that second album is not on Spotify?
I never put it up on Spotify. I guess that's the reason. I don't know.
I don't even know how it works.
Luis had put the first album on Spotify himself. And because, the second album wasn't done by Luis. So.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I guess that's the go-to. I'm making notes here. I guess I got to put that up on Spotify.
Got to call Bucket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good album, man.
That's a good segue into my next question. I know Mobtown's going to be featured in the upcoming movie, A Steady Beat Film, which of course 150 Productions and Kat, your keyboard player, is the director of. Can you guys tell me about your experiences with Steady Beat? I know we kind of touched on that, but not just the label, but him throwing the shows like you guys stated. Um, he threw a lot of shows. You guys were there, but what he did for your band, how to expose, kind of like you said, Moon didn't really do much to promote your album. I know Luis did a shitload to do anything that he could for Mobtown back in the day.
Yeah.
Tell me about your experiences playing for him and him just as a person, and this whole Steady Beat movie that's, being because of this kind of scene that he's uh, pretty much created in Southern California.
One of the reasons why we were doing that film was because of all the things that he did for us. I mean, if you think of all the 90s bands that are out or that were out, it was him that threw all those shows. And, there's not a whole lot of coverage of Luis. And so the way we kind of came up with it is when we went to the Jason Lawless memorial, that event. Luis and I were talking, and we were just kind of, just sitting back, watching everybody, listening to how everybody was talking about Jason, and kind of went, we're just this big family,
Mm-hmm.
And this is great. Like, who's filming this stuff, right? And at that time, I was working on a lot of films, so we came up with that, like, we should do a film. We should, put us all on here, right? And so that's how we came up with the film. But and really, in working with Luis before, it was just, playing his shows, talking to him, getting us in for free at shows, that's as far as I worked with him back then, because I was just really just playing keyboards.
Well, I think in thinking about it as Blue's talking, that was first it was Izat. There was a lot of promoters. Every time we played, there was somebody promoting the show, but promoters that actually stuck through it and did it for quite some time and was actually doing it well and helping build the subculture. Izat, Spankies, and Showcase. And then you had Blackpool, which eventually turned into Steady Beat. And, I think the way I look at it is Luis was my first introduction to working with a promoter that was like, they had the balls to do it, right? They had the balls to just say, fuck it, I'm going to do this, and just put on a shitload of shows, flyered the hell out of the city. And, we'd get the call and it was like, I got these shows coming up, and, he might book us for 2 back-to-back nights, might be 3 nights, but it was like our work as a band and really helping us make our bones and introduce ourselves into LA, and that in SoCal, he was allowing that to happen for us and a lot of other bands, so he was throwing so many shows in so many different locations. And I mean, he would call us along with other groups, and we were working all the time, and a lot had to do because he was the one doing it and getting us into the big venues, getting us into playing in junkyards, literal junkyards, and backyard parties. And then when he was going to launch the record label, I remember him approaching us, and I'm thinking like, fuck, dude, like, that's cool. A record label's gonna like that's what bands, especially in those days, because now you can do a lot more on your own. But for me, at least back then, I was like, wow, he has a record label and he's gonna really put out a CD, and he has distribution, and I wasn't even really sure what that meant, but I knew that he could get us into a store, and so for us, that he was that vehicle that a lot, garage bands, they're looking for that vehicle to help them spread their brand and their band. And yeah, that's what he did for us. I mean, he helped create that scene,
8%.
and he helped establish that foundation for a lot of bands and a lot of just what we do as a subculture, and even thinking back to Greg, I mean, I was thinking about this the other day, and I'm like, he's like the face of the LA ska scene too. It's like he's just iconic in that way. And I think Luis, that label and what they did, was iconic too, where it's like it just helped us. We wouldn't have played all those shows and had some of those great opportunities if it wasn't for him. And even just like scofflaws are coming to town and thinking like, oh, that's awesome. We're gonna open for him. And it's like that's dope, like playing with bands that are on Moon and so I have nothing but great things to say. I mean, he gave us a lot of good opportunities, and I will always be appreciative of that and what he did for Mobtown for sure.
Yeah. And he's passionate about what he does. It's like on a personal.
Yes.
He takes the things a personal level, and he's been doing it for so long. I mean, not just in the ska scene too, because I think before that he was like doing parties, like DJ parties and stuff like that. So his passion speaks volumes, and I think he has a love for community as well. I think he has a good ear and a good eye for talent. It's funny because I went to school and became friends with different cousin sets that are all related to Luis. One of which is George Ortiz, who's related to Luis, and it's kind of like, he treats it as a business. Those people do their business. But it comes out of a passion and an honest love, so, I would personally be, I don't know if I would be tired, but there's just certain people that can do that for as long as he's been doing it. And, he continues to do it right now. What is he doing? Cumbia. He's focusing on that sort of thing, and that's coming up and different things. And he's going to be another name in Los Angeles for a different thing as well. So it's just kind of in his DNA. And I think he's a very interesting character too. I mean, I've known him for a long time, and he's great to hang out with. He's always laugh, always some make you laugh sort of dude, so always with smiles and, I have good vibes. So I have nothing but great things, like Wally said, to say about Luis. And I want to thank Luis. Thank you, Luis, if you're listening.
Funny thing about Luis too is, back in the 90s, at shows when shit would go down, it would go down. It was crazy. It was chaotic and packed, and it could have been a fight. It could have been the police. It could have been anything. And it's funny because I always remember seeing Lewis as just kind of like calm still. He might have been stressed out inside, but he just had that. He has that. They just, all right, well, I'll deal with it. I would have been freaking out like, oh my God, get everybody out. But he just always had that kind of like, it's the name of the game type of vibe. And
yeah,
with it, it always cracked me up because it's like shit would be going down. There might even be chairs flying, and just I would look at Lewis, and he just
he's kind of a gangster.
He's just sitting back laughing.
Yeah, he's a little bit of a gangster.
Take care of it,
Oh.
So.
I got nothing.
I learned promoting from Luis. I had to be his dog, back in those early days, and had learned from him. But
Stiff dog?
he didn't. Yeah, basically. But he didn't hold anything back. You had to learn. You had to go through the worst of the worst to learn how to do things the right way. And I think Jose and I interviewed him, I don't know, a month ago or whatever. But we just talked about some of the old days and the shit that he put me through in order for me to be successful. So I owe a lot to him as well.
Right.
I would say also an interesting thing about Luis, I've had did the Mobtown experience with him, but then also been working on his new cumbia stuff. And what I really see him now more than ever is a curator, that he, artistically is taking things from different parts of LA and putting them together and then putting sort of his stamp on it. But it's very subtle, and he does have a really good ear for talent, and he does have a really good ear for sound. And it's been interesting working with him on a totally different style of music and kind of seeing the dimension from that other side of what he's doing. It's cool.
It is cool. And it's a good point because like people would say like Yeska, people, oh, it's like Latin ska. And they might say, well, Mobtown, they have that same flavor. And I never really saw it, but you know what? Now that Brian said that, it was kind of, we got branded a little bit, but I think Lewis was also seeing certain things and just as a promoter saying, I'm going to brand you that way. I'm not going to ask you. It just makes sense and it's going to be good for business. So, I think some of our branding came from what Luis saw too, and kind of how he saw the way he wanted to market us. And but it's interesting that you said that, Brian, because I just thought about it right now. A lot of that branding for the band, at least in my opinion, and for a lot of the bands, I think I see he kind of already knew how he wanted to promote because he's a promoter, but he was good at that. He is good at that.
Yeah. You like Mobtown C Spot.
Mhm.
That combo, come on, that's an awesome show right there.
Right.
Like you get a whole breadth of things, and that's what he's doing with these records that I'm mastering for him. It's like, I get these, it's like peanut butter and chocolate, and it's like it's this really, satisfying thing that you get out of it. So yeah.
To me, Luis is the face of LA ska. You know what I mean? And I think with him, he brought the third wave again to make it. I think he did put a hand in making that come back again for ska to make it as big as it did. Even though No Doubt did for sure, but I'm just saying, and you as well. I mean, you were promoting those third wave bands too that he wasn't really into. I don't think he was more into the more rock steady stuff, and you were doing the other stuff, which was cool. And you both were bringing that, and it just kind of sparked up because I didn't know what ska was really, and I was listening to it for a long time. Like I said, I didn't know genre until I almost met Mobtown,
I kind
and
of
then it just blew up. It's like, what the fuck, you know what I mean? And I know Sublime and them, they brought it too, but just saying, it. I just I never been in a band because I was in a few bands before this, and nothing like that would happen because there's so much rock in this, but ska was different, and the way it blew up was crazy, and we didn't get to ride the whole wave in, but we got a pretty nice chunk. And like I said, we played with a lot of people like I never thought I'd get play with, and that's like probably the best thing out of it, benefit other than making a family
Yeah.
and on stage. But Luis, man, he's a great dude. He's real positive. Like you said, he's real passionate, and he tries to just make it work. And he's really a people person. You know what I mean? He comes up to you, hey, what's up? He gets to know you. You don't have a choice in a sense, especially if you're working with him. But I have nothing but love for that guy, and I wish him the best. And thank you. Definitely, he opened the doors for a lot of people, and
Yeah.
give us a lot of.
I think he's master. Yeah, I think he's kind of master of the long game too, because, if it wasn't for him, specifically all the stuff happening in the southeast cluster of cities, from where I lived, Huntington Park and Southgate and Downey and Bell Gardens, where a lot of these bands are, that whole sound, I don't I don't think had much of a voice, but he made a place for all of us to be. And out of that, the people who came out of those areas kind of are like really big, have really blown up. I point to like Robert Sotelo, who started in Allenton's, Irie Beats, and now he's in the Rise Roots, and they're doing excellent. Cheeky's was part of that too, and he's doing great. Wally, I always give props to Wally for doing great big things, and this particular sound that comes out of those areas would have just been washed away, and the I think the definition of ska would have been sucked up into a whole different thing had the general public not been aware of what was happening where we were at.
He brought light to it.
Yeah,
You know,
he brought light.
I just dug the fact back in the day that he was kind of the alternative to the Orange County thing.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
For sure.
He was counterculture to it, which was like even more attractive.
Mm-hmm.
We've also got to give props to Donald Lewis, Soul Station #1 of
Oh,
Melting
yeah.
Pot, and One Take Studios that records all of Luis's bands now over in Pedro. Of course, Donald gives his own sound, to that when he records as the engineer there, and that's a
Donald
good collaboration
from
they have
Melting Pot?
together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From Melting Pot?
Yep,
Donald from Melting Pot?
Donald Lewis. That's right.
Okay. I don't know his last name. Okay, cool.
Soul Station
That's cool.
#1.
Right on.
Yeah, Pepe plays with him.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, I've been in the band since 214.
Right on.
Yeah, I love Melting Pot. I put out their first album,
Yeah, I remember that.
Polarity's a Paradox. That was excellent.
You did Mustard Plug too, didn't you?
I did not do Mustard Plague.
You
No.
did? I thought you did.
No, I did. I did Melting Pot, the Hippos,
I
and
know
the
that.
Adjustments.
Okay.
Those are the bands that I focused on. But that's just like Luis. You know, I put my heart and soul into the bands. You know that I dealt with at that
You
time.
didn't do Buckle 9? I'm just kidding.
No, but I did see them a lot at at Ezot's
Yeah, for
place.
sure. Yeah, yeah.
So as we wrap this up a little, what does the future hold for Mobtown?
Wally?
We have some stuff on the burner. I don't think we can make any announcements yet, but we
Yeah.
more coming to you as far as live shows.
This summer.
And yeah, and Brian and I, along with, you know, I know Pepe's brought it up, and we're talking about doing some more recordings and trying to figure out what that sounds like, what's that look like. I think for me, you know, one thing that, you know, Mobtown's a diverse group, right? You can look at what we have here on the page, and that diversity means a lot to us. It represents the scene. It represents, to me at least, what attracted me to it. You know, ska represents standing up for what you believe in, standing up for rights of people and equality. And it's you know about, you know, breaking down those borders and those barriers. And I think for me, you know, especially in today's climate, there's a lot of things that are troubling. And, you know, I think what makes us even closer as a family is that we share the same vision and the same beliefs, I think. And I think, you know, in talking to a lot of us, you know, on sidebars and stuff about the music we want to create, I think we want our music to mean something and kind of represent what we stand for as well. So hopefully we can do that as a group, and you know, use our platforms and you know, try to keep ska moving forward, but also preach and really kind of really stand for what we believe ska is, you know, and it's a unifying machine that can create a lot of love and you know, understanding, I think. And I just, for me, I want to see us continue as a band, you know, moving forward in that direction as well.
You got to get Aton to put you on one of his shows coming up.
True. Yeah, we'll see what happens.
You know, I think our diversity is what makes our Mobtown sound. You know what I mean? If you look at War or Ozo Motley, they're all diverse and they have their own sound because they're bringing something different. And I think that's what makes our sound as well. And I think that's key to a band like this, you know, to have a different sound than sounding like a lot of the other ska bands that sound the same, where we're coming from different directions, but we're connecting because they go together. And I think that diversity is what that gives us our own unique sound. I think we have a unique sound. You know, it's a 60s style sound, and I think I'm proud of that. We kind of brought that sound back in a sense. I feel we did, not the only ones, but I think we were. Wally, you know, he introduced me to the Scatolites, and I fell in love with it. It was awesome, and to try to mimic that, it was really hard for me. It still is. I mean, it's crazy. It sounds different than you're playing. It sounds like they're playing a jazz beat, but they're not. I don't know how to explain it. That's the way I see it, you know, or hear it anyways. It sounds like they're trying to do jazz, but they're doing their own, they're not doing it, you know, it's kind of a slow version of that, you know.
Yeah.
That's the way I hear some songs anyways. But
and I think to Alex's point too, I've had to come to terms with that, where, you know, I think LA does it the best. I've always said that, and I probably get in trouble for always saying that. And I feel like we learn styles and we learn them to the T. We're gonna do it, and we're gonna do it the right way. But in my mind, sometimes I struggle because Mobtown is like, I feel like, well, it should be authentic, but what Alex just said, it holds true to this band, is that Mobtown has its own individual sound too, because of who's in the band and the diversity of just even our instrumentation and what we have. And sometimes I have to kind of keep that in mind, where it's like, well, no, we need to be unique to our sound while maintaining the ska and those rhythms. We have to be true to what we do too, and sometimes it's okay to not sound like like 1960s Jamaica or whatever. It's okay because we sound like Mobtown, and that's who we are, and that's what sets us apart from the other bands. It's our sound, it's our collective, and our feeling. So that's been something I've had to learn, and these guys have taught me that for sure. So I appreciate that from the band.
I think also too, watching these bands get together, like I got to see Skavuvi and the Epitones play last year at Supernova, and it was like looking around with all these other people in the crowd, and they were just like, oh my gosh, like because it was like, when were you ever going to see these guys together again? They're like doing their thing, and it was just like, it was so fun. And I think in the future, like giving that joy back to audiences again as Mobtown, I think is going to be something I'm going to get excited about. So
Brian's gonna help us get there.
yeah.
And before I just want to say I do appreciate everybody. I and I won't get into details, but I just really I love seeing your faces, and Brian and Dave. I love seeing your faces, on the screen, and I'm so happy that we're all here and we're part of it. And I wish I could see Malik and Chris and Robert, but all you guys, it means a lot to share the screen and share the stage and be here with you and talking about the past. So more to come, right? More to come.
Yeah.
I feel the same.
Love you all too.
Love all you guys.
Same. Yep. And thank you,
Well,
Daryl, for putting this together.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Daryl.
Oh, of course, yeah. Our whole mission here, with Jose and I, is to basically just spread the word of the bands, that we love. Basically, we just love to talk and, just want to get it out there and see what's going on. We're doing things past and present, and I'm glad that Mobtown's charging towards the future, and can't wait to see what you guys have lined up.
Hey, if you want to give us another hour, we can give you some crazy shit that we've seen.
Just don't record it. Don't record it.
No,
Don't record it. We'll go crazy. Don't record it. You're gonna hear
I gotta go see the Lakers highlights now.
We've seen some people fall through stages in a hole and still playing the bass. There's a carpet and they just whoop, half their body. It's hilarious. Anyways, I'm just throwing that out there. But thanks for having us, man.
Well,
Appreciate it.
we appreciate you guys, each and every one of you. Thank you for sharing your time with us. Can't wait to see what you guys have for the future. We'll get this thing uploaded within a couple days and get this out so people know about Mobtown again.
Right on.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Daryl.
All right, everyone, take
Thank you.
care.
Bye,
Right,
everyone.
thank you.
Much love to you all.
Later on.
Take care.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Hello, Skankers. Jose here, aka Skanking Force. Would you like to win a free Ska Box? It's as easy as following Ska Box Rocks and Stiff Dog Records on Instagram and Facebook. And subscribe to Ska History Hour on YouTube and comment Ska Box Rocks in any video to enter. Good luck!